Oh, today is a lovely day, and I will tell you why right now, and that's because we're going to be talking about your audio, how to eliminate some of the background noise from your streams. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of streamers that sit there with amazing mics, but you can still hear their fan, you can still hear their breathing. Or you can hear kids in the background if you've been by my stream. Yeah, I know y'all have heard my kids. I mean, I got a trampoline right behind my damn desk. So I know y'all have heard that. But there is a way to lessen your background noise. And today we're going to get into that using OBS Studio as well as any mic. This will work for any mic. Let's go ahead and talk about what we will be using for this video. So we will be using OBS Studio with a Blue Yeti mic. Again, what we will be doing in OBS Studio can be used for any mic. Doesn't matter how cheap or how expensive the mic is. Now within OBS Studio, we are going to be using something called audio filters. Let's go ahead and switch over to the desktop and let's take a look at these audio filters as well as some other neat tips and tricks in order to eliminate your background noise properly. Now currently, I don't have no kind of filters on my mic, and I'm pretty sure that you can hear some kids in the background, or you can just hear a little bit of static if I just shut the hell up. As you can see, our audio levels is not going all the way silent, and we want it to go all the way down to where there's no kind of green there. It's not as hard as what people think. It's just a matter of playing with your settings. Before we start playing with our settings within OBS, here is a neat little trick in order to hear what kind of changes you are making live instead of having to stream in order to hear your changes. If you right click on the cog next to any of your sound levels and you click on Advanced Audio Properties and you change your mic/aux to monitor and output, what this will do is this will play whatever's going through your mic and being processed in OBS into your ears. So put on some soundproof headphones, turn it on, and then see how much of your background you can hear just by being silent, just by whispering, just by talking normally. What I sometimes do is I'll have my wife sit down and I'll have her talking to the mic while I'm standing there listening into the headphones. It's hard for me to process shit when I'm hearing myself talk. I'm just like that. So go ahead and turn your monitor and output on whenever you want to hear yourself live and hear the changes you are making throughout this. So let's hop into the good stuff. Let's add some audio filters to our mic. We are going to click on the little cogwheel next to our mic and aux audio levels, and we are going to go to filters. Now, as you can see here, we have absolutely no filters. Let's add a filter. The first filter that I usually add is going to be noise gate. Noise gate is probably one of the best things known to man when it comes to eliminating background noise. You can name it whatever you want, doesn't really matter. Press OK, and as you can see here, we have a close threshold, open threshold, attack time, hold time, release time. What is a noise gate? A noise gate is basically a gate for your audio levels. It makes no sense, I know. Let's talk about that. What this does is it mutes your mic once your audio levels have reached a certain threshold, a certain decibel level. And whenever you talk or whenever there's a noise in the background and that noise is higher than the decibel level that you set, it's going to unmute your mic. The first thing I usually check here is the open threshold. The open threshold is what tells OBS to unmute your mic when it hears a sound at this decibel level. So if we switch our open threshold all the way to down to around 15 because I'm talking loud, you can hear my voice, but it's cutting out now. And the reason why you couldn't just hear me is because yes, our voice was going through whenever I was talking straight into the mic loud, but as soon as I lowered my voice or I turned my head to the left, our decibel levels, the sound in our environment got lower, and it got lower than -15 decibels. And that's why it muted our mic. So you gotta play with this setting and you got to find the sweet spot. For me, my usual open threshold is around between 33 and 30. What I usually find is that if I set it any lower than that, my voice will randomly cut out whenever I am talking, and we don't want that. Now, the next part of this is your close threshold. It's the exact opposite of open threshold. What it does is it tells OBS to mute your mic as soon as sound gets lower than this level. So open threshold is for when the sound gets at this level, unmute your mic. Close threshold is when the sound gets to that level, let's mute our mic. If I stop talking for a second with our close threshold at -32 decibels, you can see on our audio bar that sound is still coming through. Whenever you're streaming, you don't want that, because as soon as you're done talking, you want your mic to kind of go silent. This way, if there's any kind of background noise, a fan, kids, maybe your computer, or maybe a modem back from the 90s, you don't want that playing whenever you are done talking. So when you are setting your close threshold, you want it to be a little bit higher than your open threshold. For my own personal settings, for my background noise, for the way that I talk whenever I'm streaming, I found that setting this at around 37, 35 is great. So this way, whenever I'm done talking, our mic gets muted, it shuts off. So I have kids in the background yelling, but whenever I stop talking, you can't hear it. And that is what we want. The noise gate is very useful for cutting off your mic whenever you have background noise and you don't want it to constantly be going through your mic for your viewers to hear. This is one of the first filters that you are going to want to play with, and your settings will be totally different from mine. It may be totally different from Billy Joe, Samantha, Janie, whoever. Everybody's settings may be different. It's not going to be the same for everybody because we all have different microphones. We all talk differently in a different tone of voice. There's different background noises, so you're going to have to play with this. Let's just make this as basic as possible. Open threshold tells OBS, hey, unmute our mic at this level. Close threshold tells OBS, hey, mute our mic when our audio levels get to this level. You never want to put your close threshold higher than your open threshold. Now, the attack time, hold time, and release time, I personally never mess with these settings because it's fine just the way that it is. If you want to mess with them, go ahead. Attack time basically says, hey, whenever audio levels reach 33 decibels, it's going to unmute our mic in 25 milliseconds. Now, the lower we set this, the quicker it is. I've tried playing with it, and nothing that I changed it to really had a great outcome. For me personally, I just leave it at the default setting. The whole time is basically saying, hey, for 200 milliseconds, once we hit 33 decibels, let's go ahead and keep the mic unmuted. And release time is saying, all right, so the decibel levels reach 33.5 decibels. So let's go ahead and wait 150 milliseconds before we mute it. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. After your noise gate, you want to add noise suppression. You're going to click on the plus sign and click on noise suppression. Now, this should be self-explanatory as far as what this does, but we're going to explain it just a little bit. Noise suppression basically helps block out your actual background noise. It suppresses your background noise, and that's why it's called noise suppression. By default, our suppression level is at negative 30 decibels. If you move your slider all the way left, it will suppress your noise more than if you move your slider all the way to 0 decibels. That's all the way to the right. If you have a lot of background noise and you tend to talk a little louder than your background noise, put this between negative 60 and negative 40, negative 30. So our next filter is going to be a compressor. So we're going to click on the plus sign and we're going to add a compressor. What is a compressor? It compresses your noises down after a certain level. Basically, if let's say you have a high-pitched screaming kid and it's piercing your ears and everyone else's ears, that's a bad thing. So what the compressor does is it evens out all audio levels. When looking at our compressor, we have ratio, threshold, attack, release, output gain, and sidechain ducking source. The ratio plays along with the threshold. The threshold is basically saying at what levels do you want the compressor to turn on. If we look at our audio bar down here and we see that when we are talking, we are hitting between negative 25 and negative 20 decibels. But if anything goes higher than negative 20, we want to go ahead and compress that noise so it doesn't pierce someone's ears. We are going to set this to about negative 22, 25, just so we can get a good example of what this does. Now, we set it to negative 25.30 decibels, and as you can see, when I'm talking, our decibel levels in our audio bar down here is kind of sticking at around negative 25 decibels. We are now telling OBS, hey, when our voice levels get to negative 25 decibels, we need to start compressing all audio. We need to start leveling out all of our audio. And that's where the ratio plays in. The ratio is how much compression is used. The more you slide the ratio to the right, the less compression there is gonna be. If we set our ratio all the way to the right on the slider, which is at 32.0, as you can see, it's not compressing my voice at all. If you wanna compress all audio levels in your background, you wanna lower that. The sweet spot for me is at about 10 to 14. Again, this is one of them settings that you have to play with. Now, whenever you are messing with your compressor, it's really useful to go ahead and monitor your mic, as we talked about earlier in the video, because any little change to the compressor will change the sound of your voice, change the sound of your background, and that's why I keep stressing you need to play with your setting. Now, the attack, it's the same thing as noise gate. The attack option is basically saying, hey, once our audio levels reaches this threshold, which is what decibel level we want our compressor to turn on, it's going to take 6 milliseconds for everything to start working. Our release is the exact opposite. Once our threshold goes higher than this threshold, it's going to take this many milliseconds for it to quit work. Now, if you are finding that your voice is too low whenever you're using your compressor, that's what output gain is for. You add a little bit of gain and it'll make your voice higher, but it'll still compress all of your sound. The final option on compressor is one of my favorites. It's the sidechain / ducking source. What this does is it turns down your background noise while you speak. But let's say we have our desktop audio on and we are playing Call of Duty. We all know that Call of Duty is loud as all hell. When we're talking, we want Call of Duty to go a little bit lower than our voice levels. We want to change the sidechain ducking source to whatever audio source we have Call of Duty playing through. So for me, it would just be desktop audio. If you have a mixer, then you may want to set it to one of the lines through your mixer, or maybe a virtual cable. I know a lot of people use virtual cables to siphon their music, their game, their Discord, all into different cables. That's what you would set it for. When you want a certain audio source be lower than your voice whenever you talk, you're going to set that audio source to your sidechain and ducking source. These are the 3 main filters that you will be using to get rid of your background noise through OBS. Once all that is said and done, you're pretty much as good as it's gonna get, unless you have a fancy mic. The Blue Yeti isn't really all that fancy, but it is a damn good mic. And the reason being is because of these 2 options right here. We have the gain control, so I can turn the gain up or down. If I turn it down, my voice gets lower, but it also captures less of my background. Or I can turn it all the way up, and as you can see, my voice gets a lot louder, but it also captures a lot more of my background. So I usually have this set to a little bit below halfway. And then we have the bottom knob on the Blue Yeti, which changes the direction in which the microphone is capturing sound. So we have an option to capture sound from the left and right, from all around, from just straight ahead, and that will play the biggest role in eliminating background noise, because having different pattern mode to change on your mic is huge, and it will change the way your voice sounds, but it will also make a huge difference in how much sound is being captured around your environment. If you have your everyday run-of-the-mill microphone, or maybe like a low-end microphone like a BM700, you won't have the option to change the pattern mode on your mic. That is one downfall of, you know, getting a cheaper mic, but again, the filters will help with your background noise and all that good stuff. But if you do have a microphone that lets you change your pattern mode, then I would highly recommend setting your microphone to what's called Cardioid Mode. What Cardioid Mode does is it only captures whatever is coming through the front of the microphone. Go ahead and see if your microphone has those options and how you can change them. It's basically all in the audio filters within OBS in order to eliminate background noise, as well as what kind of mic you have. So if you have a low-end mic, just use the filters. It will work wonders. Play around with the settings, because I can't tell you what settings to choose, but I sure as hell can show you how to change those settings. And you can watch as many videos as you want. People will say, well, this setting works best. It's going to be different for everybody. Don't listen to them. If you guys have any questions at all, don't be afraid to ask. Leave a comment. Please leave a like. My name is Tex, and if you want more videos like this, join our community. Link down in the description. I will see y'all in the next video. Let's go.